Yeah, so today's session is brought to you by Global FinTech Academy and by Mr. Tarun Mohan, who is also the founder of Mobi Secure Services. He will be taking care of the entire session on the technical aspects, what we're doing, and it will. So the format is that we will start with 45 minutes of presentation from him, where he will be talking about the summary of what has happened on the RBI's two-factor authentication, which is going to get implemented in 2026. What does it mean? What we need to change? What are some things that could have been done there? So we'll be talking about those things, and then it will be open discussion. So all of you can then start. You can unmute one by one, and you can start discussing on those points. So it's not a training session; it's more like a discussion, but it has a format so that we start from there. So before that, just to talk about what Global FinTech Academy is. So again, we all know that the FinTech has gone through a lot of changes over a period of time, and there is a skill gap which we realized, and also the knowledge gap as well. So hence we thought that let us create something by industry professionals so that we all can work together to develop something which is meaningful and also knowledgeable, not only for India, for the global audience as well. So we can proudly say it's from India to the globe. So far, we are present in 181 countries, 183 countries. People are pursuing our courses of Global FinTech Academy across 183 countries. Uh, We have tied up with Jordan, where we train them on fintech aspects like blockchain, DeFi, payments, lending, and then also in African market and Middle East. So we are delivering training, and we are focused on fintech training, which is more hands-on, which is more practitioner oriented, and some part of how it is shaping up what are the white spaces. So those kind of trainings we are focusing on. So these are verticals through which we work on. So we work create training content for institutions. We also give batch training for new joiners in the fintech world. Could be a payment company, a bank, who want their employees to get trained on fintech, what is happening new, what they have to do, and everything else. Then middle management, where they need to know what needs to be done on certain compliance that has come up or something new that they need to work on, like a product or something. Then we are talking about the top management. We are talk about the strategies that what we have to do in terms of due to the changing guidelines, changing expectations of the consumers. What are the strategies that needs to be implemented? So these are mostly like a workshop rather than a training where we interact, where we try to solve some problems that they are facing. And then we also have something like a self-paced online courses on Udemy as well. Uh, so So if I talk about the training content development, these are the customized training content we develop for colleges, for institutions, for corporates, and they can then integrate or use those content to train their own employees at their own pace. Could be on their learning management systems, or they can use our LMS as well. Then batch training for new joiners. It could be payments, it could be a payment company, it could be a lending company where they need to understand. At times, we also deliver trainings to a payment company where they say that a new batch has joined in and we want you to train them on uh, what are the basics of payments, why, who is an issuer, who is an acquirer, and what kind of new payment models are coming up, how embedded payments can create a new products. So those kind of things that we do for new joiners as well. Middle management is about new things that is happening across in India and also outside as well. So by the virtue of our work, we work with multiple uh, institutions across the globe. So we also translate knowledge from that part of the world to Indian market and from Indian market to that part of the world as well. Then the top management is more about the strategies that how do we go to the next level? What does something mean, and what are the new things which is happening into the fintech world? So that's what we do into the top management part. And then again, we also found that there is a requirement where many people said that we want to learn on our own pace through a self-recorded or a self-paced kind of a learning. So for that, we have our courses on Udemy. So you can search for Global FinTech Academy and you will get our courses. And we're also proud to say that globally, if you look at the fintech category, out of the top five courses on fintech, four are by Global FinTech Academy globally. So again, we are present in 183 countries, and gradually we are learning from the ecosystem from all of you as well through our interactions, and then we try to channelize that in a structured format so that everybody then learns and we all grow from where we started off. And then we also have our own application, which is on Android for now. So you go to Play Store, you can type Global FinTech Academy, you can get our mobile application, you can pursue our courses if you have purchased, or you can also purchase from the mobile application as well. This is our global reach. These are some of the uh, feedbacks that we have got through our LMS and also our mobile application. So these are certain courses that we have developed so far, and you can also find that on our website, and you can also find that on our LMS or on Udemy as well. So just Global FinTech Academy is a brand of CDC Partners LLP, which is a consulting and training company and partnership where we work with companies across the globe to help them to build their fintech products and also train them so that they can get the leverage of it. So that's all from our side. And now we will start with the session. Uh, you can reach out to us. You can visit our website on globalfintechacademy.net. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as well. You can follow us. And I will be now stop sharing my screen. So again, to start with this RBI's new authentication, two-factor authentication guideline that has come up, it clearly is long due. Many people reached out to me and asking a lot of questions that whether what we are doing through pattern uh, payments or what we are doing through biometric, are those considered to be static or that will be dynamic or not. So so far we have been relying a lot on SMS based OTP. So today Mr. Tarun Mohan will talk about that. What are the other alternate apart from the SMS OTP? And definitely RBI has put a lot of I would say responsibility on the issuer bank if there is an authentication, and if it goes wrong, then the issuer bank has to compensate for that. And also it is currently not applying to the cross border, but gradually it will apply, and they have to adhere to it by October 2026. So what I will do is that while Mr. Tarun Mohan will talk about this thing, about this session, uh, about this guidelines in detail, I will be also sharing that PDF format of the RBI guideline with all of you in the chat. You all can refer to that. And after the session, this will be an open discussion. You can ask questions. We all can answer, and then we will have a discussion mode rather than a training mode. So hope you will enjoy the session. And over to you, Mr. Tarun. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Piyush, and good evening to everybody, colleagues from the fintech industry. My name is Tarun Mohan. Yeah, so I run a company called MobiPay Security Services. We are a small company doing a lot of work on technology for the next generation of payments. Our basic focus is from the beginning has been non-OTP based transactions. And we've been working with the RBI and NPCI and a lot of banks to implement a non-OTP based solution, which now, after quite some time of working with them, hopefully has come to a point of implementation. Uh, so the reference over here is the RBI circular of 25th of September last week, where they had given some updated technology upgrades to the existing payment infrastructure, whether it's be issuing or acquiring. Both legs they're covered over here. I also like to mention there's an earlier uh, guidelines from the RBI. Piyush, I'll share them with you, where they have mentioned about the payment aggregators, and there are some points over there which also could extend to this circular. But I have put them together in my presentation over here and discussions over here. So I hope everybody's good with the background. Can I start with the discussions? Am I good to start?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let me just put a small thing over here on digital payments. We all know what online payments are more familiar with online payments. RBI and NPCI has been focusing a lot in the last 3, 4, maybe 6 months on offline payments. You've been seeing offline payments in transit, where you just tap and pay at the metro, entry gates and exit gates, and use the metro services. But RBI is also pushing a lot on offline payments with UPI and CBDC. If you read about some initiatives and moves at the RBI, there are moves of offline payments. Online payments, we all familiar with m-commerce, POS terminals, mobile devices, which is a soft POS-based payment rail. We also include NEFT and RTGS. No check clearance because check clearance is a manual process with the banks right now. I'd also like to bring in a small factor for securities, stocks, mutual funds, tokenization and tokenized assets and all, which I would like to bring into this discussion because ultimately it also comes into the scope of a digital payment or a digital transaction. What also is coming up over here is a lot of government payments, which could be classified as m-commerce or just could be classified as an m-commerce or an authentication for a government service, which RBI has not mentioned in this circular or in this guideline explicitly, but I'm sure will come in because that also forms a very, very major part of the transaction ecosystem. So with this basic introduction, I'd like to bring out a summary of what RBI says. The basic principles are what it knows, has, and is. Okay. Uh, we have two kinds of classifications. A is online, and B is card transactions for m-commerce or say a card not present transaction. The basic principles are a dynamic. What he's brought in right now is a unique dynamic transaction ID for each transaction today. Now, why was this necessary? This was also necessary to bring a degree of security and a degree of authentication in a transaction. No duplicate transactions happening. It would give you a kind of a velocity check at the switch for a transaction. And it also then brings in a degree of extension to the future in terms of a cyber secure payment ecosystem. Now, I'll come to the point below. RBI and NPCI are working very actively on making sure our transactional ecosystem is cyber secure and protected. I'll come to a point. I have a small screen done, a layout done of a mobile handset if you want to go into technology a little later. But in a mobile handset where we have Android 95% of the market share and only 5% is iOS, Android is kind of an open ecosystem and implementation is left to the device OEMs to implement. So that's one place where RBI and NPCI are focusing very strongly to ensure that whatever happens in a mobile device happens securely. What he also, brings out in this circular on this guideline is on a card not present transaction, where you have to do, I know is my ATM pin or a password or a passphrase for logging into the mobile app or could be a m-commerce app. I have a card, which could be a physical card or a digital card, or could be a token ID for my ID in the device. What is more important is a fingerprint, iris scan. Basically, while RBI mentions biometrics, there is also another factor coming in called a digital signature. I'll come to it later. It's mentioned briefly in the guidelines. There is a point over here which says an ATM pin is also available for use as a card not present transaction. There is a little point of note over here is that in an earlier circular, RBI says that ATM pin cannot be used for online m-commerce. So this is the point which I have the circular with me, which I would like to bring forward and discuss with Piyush and probably put a note to the RBI for clarification, because it's controversial both ways. The third major point over here is the risk-based assessments and analysis, where he's bringing a kind of an AI or a machine learning or a system learning, logic at the back end, where I do my velocity check, I do my user behavior check, I do my device attributes, and I also do a past transaction history profiling of the customer with the merchant. This is a new assessment which is bringing in. I know a lot of geographical location is already implemented for online POS transactions. It's also implemented for soft POS transactions. In the case of an online m-commerce, there is a log to be maintained by the m-commerce provider for IP address, which gives you where you are, and also your location from your browser. It's tracked down. It is a part of the transactional payload which goes into the system. What he's now bringing in is a user behavior pattern on the phone. There is a small note on this. I have it detailed out. I'll discuss it with you. And also device attributes, jailbreaking or tampering. Now, this is a point which is more prevalent with the Android devices being an open ecosystem. And there are some devices. India has about 50% Chinese devices, which are, God knows how Android is implemented. But that's a major factor for authentication over here for device attributes. Now, the background, I know all of you are very familiar what's happening. What I also like to bring forward a point here is a term called smishing, which is introduced in this guideline. Smishing basically is, if you know all your Android apps or your iOS apps, I can read an SMS message from an app. And there are already applications who do an auto OTP read. Now, auto OTP read is used when I can read an OTP coming in and transport this OTP via an internal malware app to a remote server, which gives the person his or your OTP to his web, and then he does an online transaction or a card transaction or a bank transaction. So today, card numbers are available by the millions. Account numbers are detailed. Account number details are available by the millions in the open market, in the dark web. What is not available is your OTP, which is smishing is a very common factor used for hijacking the OTP. So that's the basic background of the RBI circular. And also a major point is standardization in technologies for implementation for the future, which is basically is your card not present, no has, is, and a dynamic token. So with this, let me then go on to a more of a detailed, the second phase of the RBI guidelines, which basically lays down to a administrative portion, the issuer liability. I would also like to add over here, it's not only an issuer liability, it's also an acquiring liability. Because when you do an acquiring transaction, you acquire a transaction, you also do your velocity check, you do your merchant behavior, you do your customer transactional behavior at that merchant. Is it a spike or not a spike? So I like to bring in a point of acquiring liability also, and which is not mentioned there, but I'd like to put that point in my notes over here for sharing with you a little later. Another great important factor here is your cross-border payments. Basically, when you buy at a portal from the US or Southeast Asia, or Middle East, or Europe, we all do buy software applications, we do some m-commerce shopping, we do some e-commerce shopping. Now, in the world, across the world, if I have a card number, CVV, and OTP, I can buy. And that's one thing which is a major cause for fraud. And the cost, who pays for that cost? The cost is paid by the merchants. In the US, an MDR is about 3.2%. Why? To account for all the fraud in the transactions. India is much, much lower on MDR, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5%. Why? Because we have the OTP as a second factor of authentication. That brought down the complete risk on the transaction to almost zero. Almost zero. So this is a factor which has been mentioned by RBI. I'd like to debate on this in a separate slide with my opinion or my thoughts into it. And then we can, debate more and discuss more and put forward a note for discussion to everybody. And the regulatory approach, fine. He's, compiled all the old circulars into a single master circular. Let's come in here. Now, I put a small note over here for cross-border transactions. Now, RBI says that overseas merchants must implement our two-factor authentication, which means our bins must be, configured in the overseas merchants for a two-factor authentication. I think this is a very difficult task because A, it's merchants globally, B, we keep adding bins every week. How much will Visa, Master, Union Pay, Discover, JCB, Amex keep updating bins all over the world? How much will they do it? I think this is a task which needs a bit of a discussion, but we have an alternate solution to this available, which is a much, much more simpler solution. Let me go on to my next point over here is the points for compliance and the action. Now he
Sir,
says, yep, yep.
could you please tell what are bins?
Okay, bin.
You
Okay,
said
if you see your
yes,
card, if you see your Visa Mastercard, your card number,
yes, yes,
you have a 16 or a 15-digit card number.
yes,
Your
yes,
card number is a 16-digit number, no?
yes. It is now. I have cards with 12 digits also, 12 or 14,
Okay,
I think.
yeah. So the first six identify who is your card, is your network. Is it a Visa, Master, Rupee, Amex? The first two are that. The next four include your issuer bank and the card type. The debit card, credit card, prepaid card, Forex, Axis Bank, HDFC, SBI. And then the program, it could be an HDFC Gold, it could be an HDFC Priority, it could be this. So the first six digits identify the card, network, issuer bank, and the card type. That's your BIN. It's called a bank identification number. You got it?
Okay, sir. Got it. Got it. Understood, sir. Thank you, sir.
Look at your card. The first six identify your BIN. It tells anybody. So when you go and type your card number at a say, m-commerce site, it'll tell you this is a Visa issued by this bank and this card type. Is it a prepaid, postpaid, a prepaid card, debit card, credit card, Forex card? Tells you all those things. Got it?
Got it. Understood, sir.
Okay. So let me move on ahead then. So I have basically given compiled over here few points which are there in the guideline. Implementation of two-factor authentication with one dynamic factor. Now this is a completely new point which the regulator has brought in, a dynamic factor. And a dynamic factor is just not a number I create in the phone or on my portal. It has to be secure in terms of creation, transportation along with the transaction payload. Okay. This is a major point of implementation in terms of technology, which in my opinion is going to be a lot of work with the banks, acquiring as well as issuers to do it up. The regulator talks about biometrics, software tokens, FIDO compliant solutions, which completely redesign the customer journey. Now let me just do one by one. Biometrics, touch, finger. It could also include iris. Now, there's a debate which Piyush and we've been discussing is biometrics dynamic or static? Is iris dynamic or static? In my opinion, it's a static point. It's not a dynamic factor because your fingerprint remains the same. Your iris remains the same. What is going to be more important to look at is the software tokens or FIDO compliant solutions. Now, FIDO compliant solutions are basically what Google and your Apple Authenticator do. If you have your Google Authenticator, you go into a portal. It says use your Apple ID, or you can use Google ID, or use a Facebook ID. You go to a lot of m-commerce sites and say use this for login. So those are FIDO compliant solutions, which basically give you authenticator thing. Now, why is it also secure is in your phone, when you create or in your mobile device, a smartphone, when you create your account, you create a email ID. Now the OS host, which is either Alphabet or so let's talk about Android and Apple. In your phone, they map your device ID, they map your mobile ID, your email ID or your device, your user ID, and they give you a unique customer ID or or ownership ID in the phone, which is secure. Now that is a really secure method because both Android and iOS have been building on the last 3-4 years. And since Android 10 onwards, it's come to be secure thing. And Android 16 is going to make it even more secure. It's coming up, Android 16. So this is what a FIDO compliant solution is. It gives you a secure authentication for the customer, who I am. But it does not give you a bank ID. It does not give you a UPI ID. It does not give you a regulator issued customer ID. So that's one point of note over here where it gives you who I am. I could be XYZ, I could be Amit Kumar, I could be Piyush Goyal, I could be Jayant Kumar, I could be Smita Agarwal. But as far as my bank ID goes, the bank ID to link up to a mobile phone has to be linked to your mobile number and your device user ID, which is your email ID, which is your device ID, and your customer ID map in the phone. So that is a point which is to be noted in a FIDO compliant solution and is a big upgrade. It's a very big upgrade in terms of technology. The RBI also does recommends an implementation of risk-based assessment, which basically is a backend. Now, risk-based assessment is not the device transaction originating point. It is at the transaction processing point for online. A major point here with the RBI and the regulator focus coming on offline transactions. RBI is not going to be applicable. RBI, what will be applicable for offline basically is a two-factor authentication, a dynamic token within the device. So if you have to look at solutions, it's difficult to say, oh, this is only online, this is only offline, or this does online and offline. In my opinion or my thinking, if we are doing something, let's do one thing together, or online and offline together. Because eventually you'll find UPI going offline, CBDC going offline, a payment wallet going offline. How will you then say, oh, if I go offline, I have to upgrade my tech stack? You can't. So in my opinion or my thinking or my views, what we need to do really is build something which is good for online and offline from stage one. That's my viewpoint. We can debate on that. Then we also have to do interoperability, which means, as a point I've said over here, is whatever we do, acceptable by all across all platforms, all implementations, banks, payment service providers, networks. It has to be uniform across everything. And then we have the DPDT, Digital Data Protection Act, which is still not released, still not an act, but then people have been talking about it. The government has been talking about it. So this is one thing I leave it. I would not delve on this at all. It's not our scope. It's the regulators. It's the government scope on this. This is, I put a small note over here. A lot of internal systems have been compliant and uniform across everybody. And this is a tough one I've said over here. It's a right, privacy, it's controversial. Maybe that's why Supreme Court is not putting it out. But we can't do a thing. It's the government which is involved over here. I want to involve myself over here at this point. Now, this is the whole summary, which is online payments, offline payments, cross-border is the three basic verticals RBI talks about. Merchant acquiring KYC is an acquiring issue. Again, this is a limits acquiring issue. Offline payment aggregators, which basically were the POS, which is not regulated right now. The online payment aggregators are regulated. POS switch aggregators, he says, must comply by 31st of December. No guidelines are out yet. Hopefully they come into point. Now, escrow rules, settlement funds, this is all RBI administrative work with the banks. I'm not involving myself over there. The major points he says is a dynamic two-factor authentication for every transaction, including online m-commerce. Online m-commerce is huge. If you talk about offline payments at a POS terminal, online is 10x that volume and value. So this is a major point where I see a lot of work to be done for cross-border payments or card not present payments. Uh, Let me go to the next point over here. Approvals available. Now this is an AI ML where I've just expanded the previous point of keystroke dynamics, mouse movements available on a laptop, not on a phone. I would rather focus more on touchscreen interactions. Again, this is all linked up to the device technology in the phone. It's not you and me can't add it to the phone. The phone companies have to, the OEMs phones have to upgrade their availability on the codecs on this to happen. So this is something which means a lot of work with Android as an OS, iOS as an OS availability. Let's talk about it later. I can't, it's something which is beyond yours and my scope to implement right now. Focusing more on the tokens part of it. Now, I also told you what software tokens were, like, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Facebook Authenticator. They can generate software-based OTPs in the phone. Now, in my discussions with the regulator and NPCI and other payment companies is the OS implementation. I also told you that in Android, OS is implemented, each OEM implements it differently. OS 10, 12, 13, 14, Android 10, 12, 13, 14 implement differently. How do I manage this for multiple OS implementations, multiple device OEM vendors, and in particular the low-cost Chinese devices who have no, I would say, need to upgrade to give a very high powered Android phone. For them, price is a major point. 6,000 rupee Android, 7,000 rupee Android. I cut back on my memory, I cut back on my OS. So that's a major point of concern over here in terms of authenticator. A second major concern over here is it works only for online. It will not work for offline. And it does not work on a feature phone or a smart feature phone. Smart feature phones are the Geo phones. Yeah, they are on the Kai OS, 4G enabled, but their own OS. So they don't give you, they give you limited security in terms of authenticators. So that's a point of concern or a point of note which I'd like to discuss more with the regulators sometime in the next 1 week or 2 weeks and bring it forward. DigiLocker integration for high risk transactions. Now, I don't know how many of you know that DigiLocker only is about 70 million users, whereas we have 500 million mobile users. And it means an integration with UIDI, and DigiLocker is actually owned by the government of India, MeitY. So will they do the integration at the backend? It's again an OTP-based authentication. So this is a point which is there, and I would not put much focus over here because authentic. It's cumbersome to use. You'll go onto an m-commerce site, go open up your DigiLocker, authenticate over there, come back over to m-commerce and do all those, two-step, two-screen transactions. In my opinion, this would be a little bit of a difficult implementation, particularly when you have to do 2 steps and 2 different apps. But let it be. I'm not going to question it. RBI has said yes. Let's accept it as yes. The FIDO implementation. The FIDO implementation is basically what we talk about, a secure element in a phone. Now, a secure element in terms of a hardware is what you have your Visa Mastercards, all your cards, a small chip inside. A chip is compliant with a secure element, which is certified for standards on common criteria and a global platform 2.0. I'll come, if you want more technology, I'll come to it later, but just keep it in viewpoint that these are certified hardware elements or hardware components where I can read and write data using an authorized passkey. Okay. Now, RBI says, regulator says that the ultimate is a FIDO authentication. It uses cryptography in the phone. Now, in a phone, I'm not 100% confident that a phone cryptography is secure in terms of cyber attack and protection, particularly with AI giving you all the powers to go into a phone for hacking. In my opinion, a hardware-based secure element is 100% guarantee for security. In that case, you can do a digital certificate. Now, how many of you use a DSC dongle? I'm sure all of you use one. It's issued by eMudras and Proteans and NSDLs and a lot of companies, about 14 companies who are authorized to issue a digital signature. Now, Government of India and MIT have been working to give or allow digital signatures on a phone. But because on a phone there's no secure element available, they have been hesitant. If you have a hardware-based secure element which is compliant with a phone, either the SIM card or a phone PCB or an external chip on the phone, RBI, MIT and it's called the CCA, Certificate Authority, is okay to give you permission to install a digital certificate on the phone. Now, what happens is when you power your phone on, it has your key ID. It will go online, check your key ID as per the issuance and the installation. Perfectly fine. Go ahead, let your phone be on for offline transactions or online transactions. Now, CCA, this FIDO implementation in RBI's term also is the gold standard. Okay, it can support any OS. It can support online and offline. And then it doesn't involve an OTP. There's no OTP involved, only a secure passkey. And then this can also generate a unique dynamic token per transaction. So this is where I come down to a gold standard. M-commerce. This is something which is huge in volume, in numbers. RBI has said over here is, I want to know, earlier it was only knows and has. Or I have a card, physical card, token. It has also now brought in a dynamic token, which could be a fingerprint, he says, or a facial scan or an iris scan. Now, this, in my opinion, is not a dynamic token. It's something which I have a third factor of authentication. He's also putting over here is a dynamic factor. Now, putting a dynamic factor in a m-commerce transaction is not difficult. It is, you already have a lot of payment companies, cash frees, Paytm, back cash frees, Paytms, Razor Pays, Phone Pays. They give you an SDK, which takes care of UPI cards, wallets, everything is built in that SDK. And that SDK can generate a dynamic token. Of course, it would not be the highest degree of certification in terms of security, but it is a token and could comply over here in terms of dynamic, but would still not qualify as the gold standard. Okay. How many of you know about the COFT tokens which you right now use, card on file, for m-commerce tokens, m-commerce tokenized cards? I'd like to make a point over here is that the COFT token what you have is only a token with using your card number and CVV. It is not an EMV certified token. An EMV certified token is your full PAN data, a tokenized card using your full PAN data. And that is the highest degree of a transaction. So coming to transactional m-commerce, a COFT token will not qualify for the gold standard, but an EMV token will qualify for the gold standard, in my opinion. Okay, it's debatable. We can go back onto it. We can speak to networks onto it. But if I can convert an m-commerce card transaction into a card present using a soft POS variant, this is a gold standard. Okay. Now, security implementation, I would not go in here because this is a bit of a technical thing. If you want, I can go on to it. The basics and implementation and implications. The basic factor which RBI is brought in over here is a stronger secure token storage and creation before a transaction is validated. And that is a major point over here, which in terms of my opinion, needs a big technology upgrade with everybody. mobile handset, Android is a major point. I have some notes over here on Android implementation. How do you handle multiple OEMs, multiple OS versions? So Android has a bit of a loophole in terms of hacking and sniffing at the malware at the root level, a malware middle attack. And this is where phones have to be upgraded. I know Android 16 is coming in with a massive upgrade on security. But what about Android 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is already there in the market? So we have to take care of those. This is where a phone Android structure is. I've given you a small point of sniffing at that level or sniffing at the root level by an expert. This is what we need to protect against, which RBI is now bringing in as a cyber attack protected environment. And I've put this point, the slide over here is a point to debate. Summarizing all what we've discussed on the left, applications, technology upgrade. So in my viewpoint, while we have to go, ultimately would be the gold standard, whether it be for offline transactions, whether it be for m-commerce transactions, or be online transactions. Online could be mobile, could be web. One option is go step by step, but with the guidelines detailed by RBI for 1st of April. I don't think there is time to start looking at new standards or certifications. The easiest and simplest is use what we have, use what is certified, and integrate. And then go for the gold let it one step. Why do step 1, step 2, step 4 is gold after 2 years? Why do it this way? So I'm happy to debate on this. Piyush, we'd leave it open to the participants to discuss on this.
Yeah,
and
sure.
come back.
Sure.
Let me just go one point over here is a viewpoint. It's a huge task ahead. So it means base standards, technologies across everybody, a common technology, because RBI is very clear, it has to be interoperable. So somebody has to take the lead on saying, these are my standards, these are my technology stacks I'm going to use. This is my certification criteria. I bring on my certain panel partners. I prepare my documentation on implementation and then start the upgrade implementation. It's a huge task. In my opinion, it's a huge task. So there you are. So Piyush, let's come and just open this out for everybody to debate and put things over here.
Yeah. Well, I think thank you so much, Tansar, for this detailed discussion,
Welcome.
which has definitely combined what is there into the guideline plus the technical aspect of it. And I think we have some questions. So before we open for discussion, let us pick up some questions. So Komal, do you want to ask this question by unmuting yourself, or do you want me to ask it? Because I think you asked if two people are registered, then how will Fido detect? So
Yes,
probably, yes, Komal, please go ahead.
yes, that was my question. If two if two people are registered, then how will FIDO will detect?
Okay, so Komal, two people where on doing a P2P transaction or a closed proximity transaction or what? Who two people?
In the same device, two people are.
You can't. So as on today's date, even if you do on same device, your Aadhaar number mapping to the mobile number isn't allowed. The Aadhaar number mapping to mobile number has to be unique. Your
Yes.
mobile number mapping to your bank account has to be unique. So when you go in for UPI registration, you have to have a mobile number, a unique mobile number. Now, I'll give you where this has been coming up very strongly is in your tier 3, tier 4 and villages, where people went in for Aadhaar registration and gave the villages, the rural older people, they gave their son's mobile number as my Aadhaar number, in my Aadhaar number mapping. Now that has made a lot of issues because UIDI cleaned up the whole database with multiple mobile numbers. And they asked everybody to go on to a unique mobile number for registration for remapping and reset up your UPI. and your UIDI. So
Mhm.
that is not allowed. It will not work. And I know that for on Aadhaar, about 85% has been cleaned up. So you can't have two people with the same mobile number. Like the same thing, you can't have two with the same mobile ID, email ID. It will not work on Gmail. It will not work on your Android device. You got it?
Yes.
So I hope it's clear. Any more clarifications or questions on that?
Right,
No.
Kumar?
Okay.
Thanks.
So
Thanks, Kumar. You
maybe
can also reach out to us anytime. We'll share your email address. You can share your queries on that as well, so we will respond. I think
I
Ash.
have a point over here. So Piyush,
Yes, yes,
somebody mentioned about Mastercard passkey.
yes. Ashish.
Okay.
Ashish, do you want to unmute and talk about it, or you want us to answer? We are
Yeah,
okay with it.
thanks for allowing me to speak. I just want because I have noticed their Mastercard passkey they are yet to live in India. But is this solution architecture is more as a Fido architecture. I just want to understood is this within this RBI framework uh, or it may require further tweaking to be offer in India market. Because it's already live in some other geographies.
So Ashish, thanks. Answering your question over here. Now the Mastercard passkey uh, is a solution for your card payments on the Mastercard network. So it has to be interoperable across Visa, RuPay, UnionPay, Amex, JCB, and Discover in India. Okay. Now on the passkey, it is now implemented only for low value transactions. Am I right?
No, it's not like that. It's more than just additional factor of authentication. It's more than a biometric. In the front end, customer have to be complete their authentication to biometrics on the device. But in the
Hmm.
back end, they are using the FIDO architecture. The public token will be generated. So nothing is just save on the server side. Everything your biometric will always reside on your device only. Only
Yeah.
the I am not too much aware about the FIDO architecture, but I heard this solution is more or less the FIDO architecture.
Okay, well, let me just go down because I did some study about a year and a half ago. A little off my memory on this passkey bit, but the RBI is also mandating a dynamic token for every transaction. And that's a part of the guideline over here on the dynamic token creation. Okay, and then the secure ID, which is what the regulator focus over here is to make the whole solution cyber protected and cyber attack protected. Now your passkey is there with Mastercard. It's good. It does protect your ID on the phone. It also does give you the sense of security in terms of a backend tokenized FIDO architecture. Does RBI validate it out? Is it adopted by Mastercard, RuPay, UnionPay, Amex, JCB Discover? That's a point to be noted. Then another major point of focus here is going to be fine. I do it out. I also, in the initial stage, mentioned that this guideline would also be applicable to RTGS, NEFT, securities, shares, mutual funds, because everything is a secure transaction today.
Correct, correct.
Correct. So when you go on to, securities, stocks, tokenized, assets, transactions, fractional tokenized transactions, because now BSC and NSE also allow you to do a fractional token. When you have large, very high value shares, you can buy 0.1% of a share, you can buy 10% of the share, you can buy 5% of a share, particularly, with regard to MRF shares and those high value shares. So, in my opinion, RBI is also going to be looking at implementation of FIDO and secure tokens in those transactions. There is a small article, if you can Google out, DMA, Direct Market Access from BSC. Google it out. Right now, BSC, NSC allow you to do a C2C, a computer-to-computer transaction, which is my first point over here. Okay, where you can do your online trading from your phone via a secure broker network into the BSC switch. NSE and BSE is also now wanting to go and allow customers do a straight integration with the BSE switch. You want to go read about it. It's there online. You can go read about it. DMA. It's called DMA. Now, in that case, you need something which is more global or more nationally accepted across all networks. Whether I do a BSE switch transaction, whether I do a Aadhaar transaction, whether I do a transaction authenticated by a digital signature, you can go read about cca.gov.in. Your digital signatures, the DSC downloads which come in. CCA, I'll put it in the chat over there. cca.gov.in. Oh, sorry, it's not CCC, it's cca.gov.in. Go read about it. Digital signatures. Ultimate security of an authenticated or validated authenticated user is a digital signature. Read about that. Now, once that comes into the banking and the payment ecosystem, the liability of issuance of a digital signature is with the CCA partners, which is eMudras and Proteans and NSDLs and everybody else. So, in fact, in my opinion, if Government of India or they adopt the standard out, the issuance responsibility will move a lot onto the central government with the CCA or digital signature. It's a very strong platform and does meet the requirements of RBI or the regulator over here in terms of secure token, digital signatures, offline transactions. It does meet that. Go look it up, read it out, and you can come back again for another second session chat next time.
Anyone has any other?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I have only one point because digital payment, there are a lot of ecosystem. There are a lot of use cases where the digital payment can be classified like as you say mutual fund, your trade in BSE and SE. But for a larger phase, in terms of value and the number of transactions, if we talk about the number of transactions and the mass level of population impacted is more or less the card transaction and UPI. I'm not
Yes.
denying the other in other area. Everything in digital payment need to be secure, but we have to be prioritization how to address the larger scale. Larger scale is a card transaction. If we stop the card transaction 80%, other payments because in their trade or BSC NSC, it's not impacting the ground level people. There is enough infrastructure available to the stakeholder who participated on these transactions. But in the card transaction, try to tie city, in the ground level infrastructure is not there. Device is also not compatible. So it's all depend how to address. We have to be balance the thing. We have to be make the RBI compliant. In the same side, we have to be adopt a solution which may not impact our transaction authorization rates also. So bank have to be or the solution provider have to be balance the approach in initial days. Over the period of time, people infrastructure also upgraded. The SaaS model will become where your cost of operation goes down because day zero if you implement it, the cost is going to be very on a higher side and the issuer and acquirer may not able to manage that cost. But end of the day, merchant is not going to pay you higher MDR.
Yes.
Not the network is going to increase the your franchise fee or interchange fee. So the current revenue stream, which is range of 1.5% to 2.5%, we have to implement all the solutions. So capex, opex need to be taken care of. So what will be the best mix in this equation? Maybe may not go for the gold standard right now, but we as a real ecosystem need to be, these are the three available best option available with taking care of our compliance as well as the cost and third your approval rate. End of the day, if any solution we adopted goes down, our approval rate is also costlier.
Yeah, so that is why if you see I mentioned over there that we can't afford to redefine the new standard. We can't afford to. There's no time. There's too expensive. So what we have to really do is use what is available in terms of existing certified solutions and go ahead with them. Am I right, Ashish?
Correct. So in my view, the FIDO is currently available in the market. How the FIDO is implemented look like a adoptable solution in the market in a short span.
Hmm. So anyway, what I can do, Piyush, is we've taken a lot of inputs from Ashish. In my slide over there is my input, debate input. So let's put it down over there and we can share the slide with everybody. Okay. Who's registered and who's here.
Yeah,
I'm
I
happy
think
to share. It's all open. There's nothing as proprietary knowledge over there. It's
I
all
think
open
Ashish
knowledge.
asked, can you share the presentation? Definitely, Ashish, we will share it. It's on open. Yes, I
Any
think
more questions?
Amit has a question. Yes, Amit.
Thank
Amit?
you,
Ashish,
Piyush.
what's your background? Sorry, Ashish, what's your background?
I'm into digital payments only one of the banks.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Amit, please go ahead.
Cool. Thank you, Piyush, and thank you, Tarun, for the presentation and the details about this. I'm Amit. I'm into central bank, one of the leading central banks, and working on the digital currency. So, just a reflection on this. Like, do you see there would be a requirement of upgrading the digital public infrastructure for implementing these changes? Because what I see is like the in Indian ecosystem, even though to verify an Aadhaar, we are heavily relying on OTP. So this looks like the same thing. We are just reinventing the wheel on every other types of verification. So do you think like there is a scope of adopting other forms of verification on digital public infrastructure side, like digital identity, which can actually feed into this ecosystem for securing all digital payments as well?
Tarun,
Amit, thanks.
let me give a view and then I'm sure that
You give it up.
sure. So I think that's very interesting question, Amit, and I think one of the key point we also have to ensure that considering the literacy of our country itself, we need to have a factor of authentication that let's say most of the people can also understand and actively participate in. So if everything or most of it becomes implied kind of a thing where the system is automatically reading the passwords or is OTP and doing a frictionless payments, that's when I think there will be some kind of balance we need to maintain as well. So I think OTP has many people have relied on so far, and I think again it is happening in the payment as well and identity as well. You look at Aadhaar, it's still happening through OTP because that's a low cost that is very easily people understand that okay there is a OTP that we have to share. But I think I will leave that to the answer.
Okay, so Amit, I'll just put a little point over there. Is the Aadhaar is you and me use it. There are also about 350 million feature phone users in the country who don't have a biometric authentication or an iris scan on their phone. And they're also a part of the payment ecosystem in India, which relies currently on the existing available digital infrastructure available. I don't think there is time or initiative or the movement to add another layer to the digital infrastructure. We have our Aadhaar, we have our uh, complete UPI, Aadhaar verification. We have the AAA authentication systems or aggregator authentication systems available. I don't think we can add one more to comply with this. We have to work around what's available in the existing ecosystem. Can't.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, so it's a challenge, right? Like it has to be servable to the all section of the society. Like there are certain sectors or segment in Indian society who is deprived of, let's say, even internet. They cannot do lots
Yeah.
of online payment, and there are certain sections which is only reliant on UPI and internet based transactions, right? So it's definitely a challenge. But yeah, I was just trying to gauge your points around like does it require some changes on the DPI and all sort of stuff. But yeah, good to have your thoughts on this.
I'll
Thank
also
you.
tell you one more point is the tier 3, tier 4 and the rural segment is a very large beneficiary of your DBTs, direct benefit transfers. And the RBI and the government of India is moving your CBTC transactions to DBT. Are you aware of this? So
I
a lot of
have read
DBT
about it.
disbursements are going through CBDC route.
Yeah.
Because when you have an intent-based disbursement, say a scholarship or a subsidy or certain disbursement happening from the government, presently it comes to your bank account. And first thing is go buy some alcohol and go buy some food or go see a movie. So the intent-based disbursement is lost. Where in CBDC you can do intent and time-based disbursements. So the government is
Yeah.
moving CBDC onto the DBT onto CBDC, which is primarily a feature phone beneficiary. So there is a strong requirement of the feature phones, which is your GeoSmart feature phones and the basic feature phones, also supporting CBDC transactions. Or then you go on assisted mode, which is still being built around. There are some discussions and thoughts happening around that. It can be debated, thought about,
Yeah.
and that's an opportunity.
Yeah. One small thing, Tarun, on the digital signatures, like, do you consider or put them in the bucket of a dynamic secret or or a static secret? Because so far I'm seeing like it can be generated on both the patterns. Like it could be a dynamic, like it could be a lifelong digital signature, or it can be one-time usage, so that for each transaction you can have each digital signatures like the payments tokens work. So what do you think would be the best way
Two ways.
forward?
Two ways.
Two ways.
If you remember in good old days, 20 years ago, when you logged into an official email account, you had the dongle on your laptop. It gives you a dynamic token. Okay. Now that also was a digital signature, but in India, DSC basically is a static 256 SHA encrypted key,
Yeah.
which stays on your laptop or your phone. Okay. And then that is used to authenticate who you are when you power it on. And once you power it on, it gives you a secure session ID or session token. Okay. Now that session token is good for all transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. So first is a validation, and then post validation. It's like I said, it's like any transaction between two servers. When you call two APIs, you get a handshake, you get a session ID, and then you exchange data. So the same logic extends to your digital signature. Though it's not used between the PKI infrastructure, issuance infrastructure, and your device. It is used only in the device as long as it is powered on. When you power off and power on again, it will again do a handshake, give you a token.
Yeah.
You can read more about it at cca.gov.in. Read more about it over there. It details you what the signatures are on.
Yeah, definitely give a read.
Go read about it.
Thank you so much. Anyone else who want to share any thoughts?
Hi, Tarun.
Hi, Sachin.
Hi, Sachin.
Hi. So my question is that the ecosystem is already predefined. Like, for example, if I'm talking about card not present transaction, so ACS is already there for authentication. Now we are talking about multiple factor of authentication, biometrics, software token, a lot of other things. So it will be whose responsibility if acquirer is adding some addition factor of authentication, issuer also should have that capability. So what do you think, who is going to take a call that what should get implemented?
So that's what my last slide says over there. That somebody has to take the lead.
Yeah, because it's very tricky thing, because we are talking about a lot of things that this should be the additional factor of authentication, that can be the additional factor of authentication, but the entire ecosystem should have that capability to adapt it. And now who we are to take a call, because suppose we as an issuing bank, I'm talking from issuing bank perspective, suppose we had taken a call that RBI should accept it. RBI should say that yes, you are compliant. So now what is compliant and what is not compliant, that is the big question.
So my last slide mentioned that somebody take a lead, somebody to frame the implementation guidelines, and make it as simple as possible. Now, in my opinion, it's less of an issuer point man, more of an acquiring work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of an acquiring work, because issuance आपने कार्ड दे दिया है, आपने और क्या करा है, आपने UPI create कर दिया है,
because the transaction is getting initiated from somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's by the acquirer into your switch for authentication and validation. You know,
Exactly. So
he
I
may
think
do.
network have to take a call because network is the only mediator who is, authenticating, validating, or taking the information from acquirer and passing it to switch. So I think network
Yes,
is having more role of,
yes,
authenticating or adding something into the ecosystem.
yes.
I
So
have
it's
I have few point here.
hmm,
In my view, it's more or less the issuer responsibility because in the card not present environment, currently as acquirer just facilitate the thing. In a today's environment also is the issuer ACS, which is the issuer component, will will authenticate the end customer via OTP. Today is via OTP, tomorrow it can be X, Y, Z within the framework because RBI have it just gives the framework which which
hmm.
which way to do this authentication. It is up to you within that framework. 4 5 things that you like. This is biometric. In lot of new exist phone. Instead of OTP, you can do the biometrics. It's all about the ACS capability. You have to be upgrade your ACS capability from the acquiring side. The changes are limited just to facilitate. Even the today's all ACS authentication EMVCO framework is a EMVCO 3.2 something, which is a standard and globally accepted norm. And in the EMVCO itself, there is a way de- define you can do other than OTP authentication. That is framework is already available, but in India this adoption is not there. Solutions are not there because the cost of solution is very very high versus the the revenue currently available because nobody will ready to put additional cost in the running business. This is my
Well,
opinion. Maybe
Ashish,
I
on
am
a
wrong.
viewpoint on card not present, there is a technology available on the soft POS SDK where I can convert an online card not present into a card present. Now you can work it two ways. A is I can tap my card in case of NFC phones, or I can store a digital card in the phone vault, and it is in-app card present transaction. So complying with
Yeah,
the RBI mandate over here, if I can convert all my card not present to a card present, with the mandate of hosting a digital card on the phone, or I have my NFC cards, I can tap and pay on an NFC phone. That's a much simpler and a much more secure way of upgrading my card not present to a card present. And it's a gold standard.
your point is very valid if you convert that because even for
Hmm.
the tap and pay transaction, uh, without pin is up to some limit. So
Hmm.
in you cannot do a high value transaction above 5,000. Then you have to adopt a additional factor of authentication. Currently in the pause is a static pin, but
No,
that is also
so
going to be changed into dynamic framework in some time. It's not in the current circular,
no, so
but
I'll tell you about the tap and pay the soft POS. If your soft POS SDK is MPOC certified, you can do pin acceptance on the phone.
no, no. So here in your card not present transaction, it is the end customer device, not the
Hmm.
shop copy. You cannot
Hmm.
upgrade end customer device everywhere. Soft POS, the currently soft POS we are offering is offering that soft POS to the shopkeeper and the merchant, which
Hmm.
is your one point. But here
Hmm.
in a card not present environment, if you upgrade end customer a mobile phone into NFC enable, it required infrastructure upgrade in the ground level. Even
No,
in a
I can
today's
do
also, in
I
today's
can do I can do a digital card on the phone, and I don't need NFC phone for that. It's non-NFC phone which works for the card present over there.
that is possible if your phone have the certain OS. Even today's
And
also, if you
huh,
go for the Amazon or a
huh.
certain website, if you need to enter the card number instead of keying the card number, if the device have the NFC, you just tab your card and that app will read the card number expiry from tap itself and enter to the uh, an application itself. You only need to enter the CVV that NFC will not read, and you complete your card journey. That is already available in the market. But when you do the card not present transaction, like as Ashish is doing some XYZ website, Ashish don't have that phone which have the NFC feature available. Then I may not able to do that soft post like transaction on the merchant website.
No, I can. I'll write to you separately how we can do it out. It is
Okay,
possible.
okay.
It's available today. And in fact, Visa and RuPay have both adopted it out. I can write to you if you want. I can give you a small note on that. It is available today. There's no tech upgrade in the handset. Any handset can work. Any handset works over there. So the difference is, you were talking about existing COFT tokenization. A COFT tokenization is only using the card number and CVV. It does not use your card PAN data. So COFT is not qualifying for EMV certification, whereas the PAN tokenization is qualifies for an EMV transaction.
Please, can you go for the point number 10 once again? That
Yes.
cross-border transaction.
Sure. And what will happen is that after this, I will just go through point by point so that in case if you have any question, we can ask. If you do not get a chance to go through the notification, we'll go point by point as well. So it will take some time, but we'll happy to do that. So if you go to point number 10, okay, yeah, here it is.
Just in my opinion, it says uh, however, card issuers shall by October 10, 2020 put a place a mechanism to validate non-occurring cross-border transaction where request for authentication is raised by a overseas merchant. So it's up to the for the issuer standpoint, if the merchant is initiating a authentication request, issuer have to be capable to honor that request for authentication. In case merchant is doing non-authentication transaction, whether we need to decline that transaction, that point will not say that point. That somebody says the ECI 7 transaction. If as a merchant, I initiate a ECI 7 or Moto transaction, non-authentication, should I decline? This point will not talk about that. In my view.
Okay.
Because he is a where request for authentication is there. It's not saying always is mandatory to request for authentication should be come from the overseas merchant, otherwise you decline.
I think that's playing a little bit on the language of the
Correct.
It's open for interpretation and further clarification, I guess.
Correct.
Also,
Currently, lot of issuers are not issuing these cards under 3D secure frame.
So that's the viewpoint on interoperability, right? I mean, if I'm taking it correct, like if you have to be registered on according to point 10th, like your bin has to be registered, then if you're on the same network, then once you register or on board on your network, that's fine. It's there on their system, like VisaNet do and everything does. But if you are making a cross-border transactions, there are different merchants, there are different networks, the verification standards are different. So I think this is a call from them to make the system more interoperable and more secure. And this calls for a change on both the parties, like from the issuing party and for the acquiring on the merchant side as well. That's my understanding, to make the entire system more interoperable, secure, and maybe cyber resilient also in case.
I'll give you a point to note.
Yes.
There was a discussion, I think, in Europe or UK, that they are now the limit of a pinless transaction on tap and pay is £100 and €100. They're taking that limit off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can expand on that. Like there was a recent news about that, and the fintechs and the commercial banks are moving away from the £100 and €100 transaction limit because they are seeing a great user like friction in the user experience. So every time when you tap, because here in this EU and UK region, basically contactless payment is very prominent. So they are seeing a great user friction that every time your checkout or amount is exceeding £100 or euros, you have to enter your physical sort of intervention like a PIN or let's say OTP is not prominent here, maybe biometrics verification or something like that. So they are taking that off, and the upper limit is not yet agreed and decided, but yeah, that's based on the complete user experience. I think this will make the FRM process, fraud and risk management process, more real time, because at least now also when companies or fintechs or even banks talk about we are doing real time checks, but these checks are done now and then implemented at least T+1 or some time, because they cannot really halt the transaction at the moment. But as and when these rules or mandates gets closer and implemented, the real-time fraud and risk management checks will be implemented, and it will be sanctioned at that very instantaneous moment, rather than just waiting for the approval and the bank approving the transaction, stopping it and pausing it, and unless something else happen on the other side.
And I think we all are aware that today itself RBI has gone live with the check being processed in near to real time. I was going through that regulation, and I think RBI has changed the definition of T. What you used to say T+1, T+2, now they are saying T is the time of the entry +2.
Not the day. Not the day.
Not the day, right?
Yeah.
And we have T+3. So the T was the transaction day. Now they are saying T is the transaction time. So I think that's a great. I mean, when I saw this regulation, is why they have redefined the T itself. I would say that's a really great thing.
So Piyush can also then tell everybody, in case they want to go into the second part of our discussion for technology, FIPS and EAL and all those things. We're happy to host a session after a few days. You decide when you want it. So in case somebody wants to go deeper into technology, we can do that also.
I'm interested, Tarun. I mean, I'm definitely interested.
We are ready with that. The deck is ready with that. Only today being our first intro, we said it can be 2 hours or 3 hours of discussion over there, deep into technology.
Yeah. We can start with tokenization, encryption, then 3DS. We can go to all the digital payments. So today it was more focused on the regulation aspects. Definitely we covered to some technical aspect as well. But happy to share, and I had to ask Tarun sir to not get into a lot of technical, otherwise people might feel this has become a more technical and less of compliance. But I'm sure that we are happy to host another session which will have more technical aspects of digital payments. I will soon come up with the date. I will share a registration link with all of you. I think that's what it is. And again, guys, thank you so much. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining, debating, adding your inputs. And let's hope we can drive a little bit of the movement over here, Piyush.
Yeah.
There's no time to work, I think.
No, guys, thank you so much for your time. I think it was great. You guys.
Just wanted to add. Kudos to the marketing team of Global FinTech Academy. They have brought me into the session wherein I am not at all associated with the fintech world at all as of now. I mean, I had a startup and it shut down and all. But I don't know where they found my email from. But kudos to your marketing team, and I have learned a lot from this session. And I think this is a new arena into which I should venture out. A lot of technical terms I could not understand. Tarun sir, request you to be more, considerate towards us so-called noobs when you take the session next time. But I definitely join, and I'd like to say thank you so much for giving me an insight into this next thing. I had no idea कि क्यों चाहिए. अभी तक SMS OTP से अच्छा काम चल रहा है हम सबका. राइट एंड उसके बाद अब RBI नया फ्रेमवर्क लेके आ रहा है तो लोगों को बहुत काम करना पड़ेगा. दे वुड हैव टू इम्प्लीमेंट लॉट ऑफ न्यू थिंग्स. बट दिस हैज बीन एन आई ओपनिंग सेशन and I'm really looking forward to the next one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But the next will be more technical, so a lot of technical jargon will be there. So you have to read
and don't worry about
what
that.
We are saying.
And don't worry about that, Tarun sir and everyone else. We have the academy, especially for the reason you will get to learn about all the basic things, tokenization, card not present, what is everything else. So you can go there to the Global FinTech Academy, explore those courses. This takes care from exactly the basic to that advanced level. And our goal is actually to become FinTech for non-tech professionals. And for technology, we invite technology professionals like Tarun sir and everyone else. And we'll continue to focus more on these aspects. So whenever you're confused, head to our courses as well.
Gurpreet had raised his hand, I think. Gurpreet, you took your hand off. Kuch hai question ki nahi?
No, sir, I just clapped. It was a good session.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just sent my reaction and
Okay.
Really good session, Tarun sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Gurpreet, Ashish,
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Shrikant.
thanks a lot for the session.